for attending, everybody. My name is Christian, I'm from Red Zone. If you don't know what we do, make sure to meet us tomorrow or in the evening and ask. I don't want to go into detail about me or us as Red Zone, but about these coaches who spent the whole day teaching us about football. So thank you from my side. Martin, first days in the books, how was it? How do you feel about it?
Well, ich versuche es in Deutsch. Es war natürlich für mich erst einmal ein bisschen anspannend, aber nachdem dann die ersten 2 Redner dran waren, dann läuft es natürlich etwas entspannter und dann schaut man auch mal rum und schaut sich die Leute an. Und ich glaube, ich habe dann ein Bild gesehen, auch das jemand gemacht hat, wenn man über 370 Coaches hier hat zu so einem Event, dann kann man da schon von dem Erfolg sprechen. Wenn man sieht, dass die Leute aus Warschau hier anreisen, aus Tschechien, aus Österreich, dann glaube ich, haben wir hier ein gutes Setup gemacht und der Bayerische Verband hat hier mit einem Event, das sicherlich seinesgleichen sucht in Europa, und da bin ich natürlich froh darum und freue mich über die Akzeptanz der Veranstaltung.
Okay, just a quick amendment. If you guys have one question, just put your hands up and I'll get you the microphone. So AJ, you started in the morning with high energy. Are you tired?
I took a nap in between. I went and got a nap after lunch. So
is it on?
Yeah, we're on. Yeah, we're on.
How do you feel about the event today?
It's outstanding. And just from 4 years ago, the growth, the depth of the questions from the coaches today went from really new. I mean, the depth was not as deep 4 years ago, and the stuff guys are asking now is outstanding. You can tell football's continuing to grow.
Did you expect so many coaches today here?
Martin told me it was, so I held him to it.
So, Laurenti, you are the first NFL player at the biggest coaches convention in Europe. What do you know about American football in Germany, and did you know that it's booming and growing so fast here in Germany?
I actually just recently found out that you guys have 60,000 plus American football players in Germany. So I thought that was amazing when I came down. I went down and watched the Super Bowl with the Stuttgart Scorpions. So I mean, I think it's great to see that you guys, and I'm excited to be a part of it.
Thank you. So, can we do like this? Sammy, in the interview with Red Zone, we talked about NFL Europe and what it was in the past and what is football in Germany now. What are the differences, and could we be close to that hype again?
In Deutsch oder in Englisch?
How you want it?
Ich fange mal in Deutsch an. Also die NFL Europa ist Geschichte, das ist jetzt lange her. Wir haben zur richtigen Zeit an den richtigen Orten einige Sachen wirklich gut gemacht. Wir haben versucht, die Sportart voranzutreiben. Wir hatten viele Programme. Wir waren an der Deutschen Sporthochschule in Köln, hatten hier heute den Fuß in der Tür. Wir haben das Flag Football Programm damals gestartet. Wir hatten damals, glaube ich, etwa 1500 Schulen in unserem Programm bundesweit. Und wir haben halt viele National Talente gefunden, in der NFL Europa ausgebildet und sicherlich auf dem Sprung waren. Es wäre schön, wenn wir noch 10 Jahre bekommen hätten, weil jetzt ist der Hype angekommen. Ich glaube, es hat im Einzelhandel in Deutschland noch nie so viel Werbung zum Super Bowl gegeben wie zu dieser Zeit, und das ist etwas, was einfach für den Hype für NFL Football spricht. Aber daraus lernen kann man, glaube ich, nicht wirklich viel.
You're part of the Düsseldorf Typhoons, and you managed to get Alexander Ernstberger to college, right? You had Alexander Ernstberger, the defensive end from the under-19 team, got an offer from, I think, Notre Dame, and committed to Notre Dame. Does this make you proud?
Es ist ein unglaubliches Projekt, was die Typhoons in Düsseldorf haben. Ich würde gerne so anfangen. Es ist das einzige Schulteam in Deutschland, was als Schulform organisiert im organisierten Sport im Ligabetrieb teilnimmt. Das heißt, es ist ein Schulprogramm, da spielen ausschließlich Schüler dieser Schule. Tackle Football 19 und 17 mittlerweile Flag Football. Sie spielen GFL Juniors mittlerweile im 2. oder 3. Jahr oder im 2., 3. Anlauf mittlerweile auch etabliert. Und dass aus diesem Programm ein Spieler hervorgeht, der die Chance hat, nach Notre Dame zu gehen, das ist ein unfassbarer Schritt und spricht für die Coaches, die die Arbeit da vor Ort geleistet haben, weil die müssen sich um ihre Spieler kümmern, die müssen die ausbilden und am Ende des Tages, nicht böse sein, aber es ist ein Spiel mit Zahlen, die statistische Wahrscheinlichkeit steigt natürlich mit der Anzahl der Spieler in Deutschland, dass man jemanden findet, der in dieses Roster, in dieses Muster reinpasst, was die Colleges suchen und da passt er perfekt rein, das ist ein ganz smarter Junge und ich wünsche ihm nur das Beste.
Johannes, you're a coach in Schwäbisch Hall for a senior team, but you have one player at the youth team with Alexander Honig, who is expected to be thought after by college teams as well. Is this the new trend for high-end German athletes to join Division I colleges?
Well, first of all, I want to say that it's great that we get the attention of international football, exclusively the NFL. But I also think we got to be careful with installing the thought in our players that what they're doing over here is less special. And I mean, it's great for all these guys to get these opportunities, but there's so many that put in the same amount of hours, that do all the work, and I think we should appreciate every one of them. And I'm really happy for everyone that makes the jump overseas, across the big pond. But you know, we can never forget about all the others that maybe have the same effort, because it's, you know, always, if you have the opportunity, take advantage of the opportunity. That's great, and I'm really happy for everyone. And there's a lot of good examples, and I wish them the best of luck.
Phil, we talked already about recruiting. What do you recommend German athletes who want to join a college team? What do you recommend them to do?
Well, the biggest thing that they probably have to do first and foremost is getting their stuff together and making sure that they get that college information to the coaches as quick as possible in an early process. The process usually is going to take about 2 years before they will sign with the team, and a lot of times we find out too late or too far into the process. We're not able to give them that opportunity. The other thing is then just creating some kind of film that we can evaluate an individual and getting that, either that being on huddle football film, we're talking about it, even doing drills and putting it on YouTube, and then emailing that to the coach so that we find out about them quicker. I think that will help them, and then we can give you good feedback, like this young man can play at this level, in my opinion, at this point. And we're truly using, it doesn't have to be football-related skills. True athletes is very important. We're trying to see a guy that can run fast, jump far, I mean, and then we'll teach him the rest. But then, you know, the football part is a big part, but we want the athlete. And then if you can tell us the true character of an individual, that part also, because we want to make sure that it's a good fit for us. So.
AJ, you said you already coached European guys at the college level. What are the expectations toward those guys, and what have they to expect from the team?
Well, I think the biggest thing, it's no different than recruiting a high school in the States. Now that I've been over here, the minute I find an international athlete, even if they're not from Germany, the first guy I hit up is Martin, or the 6 guys and ladies I've got to know. Do you know this kid? Do you know this team? Do you know this coach? Because that I gotta, like Phil said, character is the biggest one. So sometimes, yes, the athlete, you gotta check all the boxes. But if you're not gonna have the biggest adjustment, I think, of the 3 international kids I've coached, is the difference in tempo and practice and training and the grind and it is more intense than anything they've been a part of. And that took a while to adjust to. So they've got to have the mindset to push through it. And when you ask a coach, you got to get valid information, because when you build a trusting relationship, you call that coach every year, hey, you got anybody? We don't wait to see it. Hey, you got anybody? Once a year, who you got coming up? Just like your top high schools, because you found a reliable resource. And they're hard to come by, because everybody can tell you how good their player is. And the 3 questions, do they like it, do they love it, or do they live it? And because nobody's going to tell you, my guy doesn't like football very much. They're all going to tell you how good they are. But does he like it? Does he love it? If he lives it, I talk to the coaches. You guys pay, the way you pay for your licenses and your coaching and your classes, that's a huge investment already. In the States, you got some people that wouldn't, oh, I gotta pay, I'm good. And that's an investment that I see over here that I'm so excited about. But from a recruiting standpoint, it's relationships and trust in the people over here, because we can't just drive out here in the spring twice. So you don't get to see them quite as much. You're starting to see more coaches come over, but down the road, I think that you're gonna see more of that.
Loretti, did you already play with players from Europe in your teams at the NFL?
No, I just had a chance to train with the guy that went to Florida State from Germany.
Björn Werner?
Yeah, I had a chance to train with him at the NFL Combine. So
Okay.
that's probably it there.
Okay. Brian, you started, or you had one coaching gig early in your coaching career here in Germany. What was the impact for you to coach here in Germany? Maybe Martin has to say something about it too.
Yeah, well, first off, it was a great experience for me as a young coach to learn about coaching and leading a group, and also an opportunity to travel and experience a culture, and that's important for me from a growth standpoint, to be able to understand what it's like living in Europe and the important things like that. But the thing that I enjoyed the most was interacting with the players and the coaches and the great people over here, and just taking it in as it came.
Richard, I heard you are watching GFL games at the live stream. Is this true?
That's correct. When I was here, it's about 10 years, right, Mark? Been a while, but technology is changing, and the biggest thing I see, at least from a professional standpoint, as far as the pro game goes, is the ability to go online and watch. I watched the Austrian Bowl this year. I watched the German Bowl on live stream in the States, and that's a huge, huge advantage for the next level for players. To get evaluated, be seen. Regardless of the level of competition or whatever, you're seeing that more and more. Again, because of the technology, and I think it's a great advantage to be taken care of and expanded from here, and hopefully it'll keep expanding, so it's easy to get all those games on live feed in the States, so you can take a look, see what those guys are and how they're doing, and how they stand out in the game over here. It matters. Right?
Yeah, I think the game is growing all around the world, and it shows when here 400 coaches show up. So, Martin, how makes you feel these kind of attendance?
Yeah, like I said before, it's great that our event is interesting for so many people, and I'm sure this networking, talking with coaches, is so important, especially that we are growing as a sport in Europe, and also that people just share their knowledge about the game and how you do things, and this coach is doing this way and that way, and I'm pretty sure this are a weekend for all the coaches. What has a big benefit for yourself and your style and work with the kids.
So, Brian, did you see the speakers, Sean Shelton, talking about RPO?
I did, actually. I had a chance to scout him out.
No, did you like it?
Yeah, no, I thought the order of the talks and him talking about RPO and the read zone, and then me following up with, football is obviously a game of who has the pen last, so if you could be in the right defensive call, we don't draw up defenses that don't work, defenses are meant to work, so are offenses, but at the end of the day, players make plays, and the best thing that you can do as a coach is put your players in a position where they can excel at what they're best at and play fast.
Johannes, you're coaching at a pretty high level in Schwäbisch How many details can you take home from such an event? Or do you know most of the stuff you see here?
I mean, as a coach or as a person, you always learn. You're never done learning, and I think this is a great platform to have some great back and forths and a lot of the things, you know, sometimes you just hear different stuff, and even you know, maybe it gives you some new ideas, and it helps you to maybe phrase it a little bit different, get a different buzzword, so it makes it easier for players to understand. I think it's been really great, especially the session after, where coaches come in, can ask individual questions, and so it's always great, and you can always take something, you know, from the back and forth as well.
Do you expect to see some of those things more the next year when you meet with those coaches and speak about it, and think more about like the other coaches will implement those stuff like RPOs? How is the percentage of RPOs in GFL1? I don't know.
Well, overall, I think football evolves, and there's always some trends you'll see. You know, back in the days, the double wing, everyone ran the double wing. You know, now it was zone read with the bubble attached, and now you see all the route concepts attached to it, and it's moving in waves. So I think it's not going to go away until you stop it, and somebody else. You know, maybe we'll see double wing here in a little.
That's actually how I started playing football, with double wing. Don't miss it. Richard, I don't know if you know it, but the GFL, the German Football League, is starting a cooperation with the CFL. Do you know anything about it?
I do not. I mean, I saw the announcement through Twitter, online, that the league there and the federation here had come to agreement on players, but I don't know any details. I'm just, as I mentioned to some other folks earlier, you know, I'm excited for the opportunity for the players, you know, because they get a chance to go show their talents and be evaluated and stacked up against the best players that are out there, and see how it shakes out, you know.
AJ, you thought it at the beginning, said it at the beginning, you are a pretty high energy guy, and I think that springs over to your players. So is there any recommendation you can give the coaches here, as I'm a head coach for a youth team, how to get the nasty streak in an O-liner?
Recruit nasty kids.
Well,
no, I think it's created in practice. You know, Phil and I have been at 2 different places together. He remembers me back straight out of college. I mean, I put a helmet on and played Scout Team BN when we were short people. And when they see how you played, they go, I wasn't any good, but man, you play. What I'm saying, then we went to drills, and literally, we'd go into the chute, and I didn't care about footwork. I didn't care about hand placement. It's drive the guy out of the chute. And I got 2 giant kids crying. Ryan Taylor, he's crying, I can't go anymore. And they just go, and you leave, and some kids just pounding him until they get him out. You do that in the off season. I do a lot of, we can't do it anymore NCAA-wise, but there's all combat drills that you do, and you get to the point that there was a show called American Gladiators. Anybody know what it was? And they had all the different games, and I mean, we literally went in a wrestling room and just beat the hell out of each other every Sunday night. Phil, you were there. Sunday night fights, we called it, okay? And nobody claims to be in there, because we get sued now. But we did this. We had 2 kids pass out. We had ambulance calls.
Keep that between us, okay?
Here's the best part.
Yeah.
The kids...
We were young and dumb.
The kids loved him. And I mean, they showed up, and it was just to get them all at school on time on Sunday night. They loved it. And I see kids 15 years later, they don't care about the win, they don't care about the loss, they don't care about the scheme. They go, Coach, are you still doing Sunday night fights? You just get the right people around you that like that stuff. That's it. I mean, it's not that hard.
Are there Sunday night fights in Würzburg, Martin? Lorenzi, you played a lot of NFL players. Are there? Sure, there are players that are nasty, but are there soft players too?
It's a lot of soft players in the NFL. I probably face tougher guys than playing in the SEC. But when you come to the NFL, it's a lot of guys that play the game for different reasons. Some people play the game to get girls. Some people play the game because of money. Some people play the game to be on TV. But the guys that you know the dogs when you see the dogs. Like when we go over the stat sheet and we put the personnel up, we like, he's a dog. You know, you got to bring your shit ready. And I just try to play my game that when they see me across from like 55 is a dog. That's it.
He's dead on about that. And I hear coaches in the NFL that half the guys, they want nothing to do with physicality. They're just so God-given ability, but they love the recognition, they like the money, and then you'll find 10 guys a team, they play for $3 and a Coke because they get to go, but am I right? I mean, you gotta find right-minded guys.
Phil, what would you do to guys who are soft?
Send them to age. Well, we get an opportunity. We actually recruit the kids. And the number one thing that we talk about on our evaluations, we go through this, is toughness. It's number one. Is the kid tough? And you can usually ask the individual, you can kind of see his body language when you ask him how tough he is, which tells you, I don't care really what he says. And then the coach, you know, I'll say from 1 to 10, how tough is he? You know, and if they kind of pause, then I know, you know, and I move on. Because I want the guy that's tough. Because the rest of it, if they'll put their face on somebody, it'll all work out.
Sammy, I think you try to develop athletes in a physical way, right? You train them. Do you think that the state of mind regarding to soft or nasty relates to the state of the physicality or in the body?
Yeah, the numbers shows it. I mean, every time when the draft is on, out of 75,000 people who play college football, roughly 300 go straight into the draft. So obviously it's a numbers game. So you will find people who are tough by genetics, by the environment they were growing up, by the way they were coached up over a period of, let's say, 10 years of time. So it's not a wonder, but it's work in progress. I mean, how should somebody understand what the level of NFL football is if he has never stood on the same field watching the size, the weight of the people, and the speed the people are crushing into each other? It's like a accident 65 times a game. Do you want to do that as a profession? I mean, that's a legitimate question. Do you want to do that every day as a profession for how many games? 20 games in a year? You need a special mentality. Is it coachable? I would say to a certain degree. It's a little bit depending on the motivation. Does the player have the right motivation? If it's money, well, then the motivation ends if there's no money anymore. If he's an, let's say, natural athlete who likes to bump into people, who likes to fight, then it never stops, right? As you said, right? It never stops. So no matter if you're 50 years of age or 70 years of age, you will have the same mentalities, though, right? So to answer your question, it's really a field of experience. So especially in Europe, if we want to develop players, we might have to do a better job in enforcing or helping people to get into this mentality. I'm missing the right word right now. Not toughness, but into the battle. They have to learn to battle. It's not very common in German society to battle for something. We are arguing, we're having changing arguments, but we are not physically doing anything anymore. So this is a learning process, and I think this is what we have to establish and practice if we are doing it in a serious way.
Okay, thank you. So, Brian, you're a quality control coach right now. Is this true?
I got promoted.
Sorry?
I got promoted. Outside linebackers coach.
Oh, okay. So
I was for a long time.
So I wanted to ask something about more like quality control, but you know about it because you have done it in the
That's
past.
right.
how do you grade players? Is there any system? Is it different between clubs, or is there always the same?
Regarding after a game or during practice?
Things in general, if you want to go in detail, yes.
So in terms of evaluating guys throughout the season and throughout camp, what we do is we come in after practice as a defensive staff and we start watching the tape, and each position coach will have a comment bar that they type in comments. We send those out to the players so that they can learn, and then you chart production as you go throughout camp in order to see how guys rank out. And then throughout the season, we have a grading system that ranks making plays, is gaining points, mental mistakes and assignment errors is minuses. And if a guy is performing or outperforming someone else, the best guys play. And obviously you have to make plays, but you also have to do your job, and you have an assignment grade that the coaches look at and value. So that's how the grading aspect from a coaching standpoint goes. A lot of tape, watching a lot of tape after games and after practice.
So as we have a lot of offense and defense coaches, who is tougher, offense or defense?
I got the mic, so defense.
So maybe we start with Richard and go right through.
What was it?
Who is tougher, offense or defense?
The special teams guys are tougher.
Special teams, he's 100% right. Those guys got to play O or D, and then those are the violent collisions. So I think you're probably dead on, no doubt about it.
I think the coaches are tough because they have to be tough on players. And as I said before in an interview, a lot of coaches in Europe are doing a professional job without getting paid professionally. So this is something which is unvaluable. I mean, you can't beat that, and this is what I'm saying. The coaches are the toughest guys.
Well, I think it's a team mentality. It's tough to be a good team with just having a tough defense or just having a tough offense. I think it's really a philosophy, and as you're going through the season and you progress, you'll have your setbacks. You go through adversity, and eventually, as a team, which is great, you go through it together. And I think in order to do that, you got to come together, stick together. And that's some form of toughness, and I think that can be really installed by the coaching staff, all the work they do, and lead by example, and the players will pick up on it, and you give them an opportunity to be tough as well.
So I've worked on both sides of the ball, offense and defense, so I don't know as an offensive coach, but I will tell you, we talk about toughness and you recruit it, but I also think it actually represents whatever that coach is. So if you're I coach the receivers, and they're probably the flakiest position on, and so they're soft is a common thing, but you've got to create a toughness within that room. And so whatever your drill work is, I think you can actually, and they will start to represent you. If your players are playing soft, the coach is probably soft. I truly believe it, because Coach Blazek's guys are not soft, okay? Because he's going to create that mentality. I do believe that. And like the number one rule in our meeting room says, do not get hurt, And so I will tell you when to stop, okay? I will drag you. I want you dragging your leg out there, and I'll tell you when to stop. So you create a mentality. So I don't know if it's an offense, defense. I do think it represents the coach, though, and you'll see that on film.
Thank you.
One of the things that our head coach at Colorado talks about is when we have it on backgrounds at computers is the word relentless. And what that means is that you go harder, longer. And so that's something that we try and incorporate in everything that we do is make sure we're finishing and that we're doing everything, at high intensity and high effort. But, speaking on the word toughness, a lot of people think toughness is a physical toughness. But after my experience coaching in Germany, I coached in junior college, and what I learned about a junior college athlete is they're in junior college for a reason, because they didn't do something to get D1. And the biggest component of a junior college athlete that I learned was mental toughness. When things get hard, they quit. They quit. When school gets hard, they quit. So what we look for, not just in physical tough, we don't just look for physical toughness, we look for guys that are mentally tough, that can handle adversity, that go harder, longer, that are relentless. And then one part about mental toughness that a lot of people don't think about is, a lot of people say, how do you handle adversity? Well, how do you handle success? Because when you're at a school like Georgia, or I've been at a school like Arizona State where we started really fast and we won a lot of games, and then we lost every game, and the head coach got fired. So how do you handle failure, and how do you handle success? And if you're consistent and you're relentless in what you do, you're pretty damn tough.
I mean, you guys have some great answers. I can't follow on that. I mean, offense, defense. I mean, I would just say, like, if it's in you, it's gonna come out you. So it's up to you to decide, like, as a coach, to determine what type of characteristics you want in a player. And if you see that he has toughness in him, then you can always build on it. But there's some guys who just don't have it. Like, you can't coach toughness in everybody. Some people just don't have it. Some people just want to fucking wear a jacket and fucking have a girl on them. You know what I mean? But they gotta have that shit in them in order for it to come out. Like, and I think it's from the top down. Like, their coach have to be tough. You know what I mean? Because it's coached across the board, and it's a domino effect. And like, it's mental and it's physical. It's as much mental as it is physical. In the game of football, because it's a guy that he may be physically tough, but if you say some shit to him and you get him out of his game, now he going 100 miles an hour, and his toughness is played into his disadvantage for him. You know what I mean? So it works around the board.
Thank you.
Well, I think most of these things are already said, and I follow all these philosophies about toughness. And the only thing I would add on it is, and this is honestly, I think, especially with my experience here in Germany, and honestly, I think every single young man who puts equipment on and walks on a football field is a tough person, and needs especially toughness to do this. Otherwise, they would play soccer or stuff like that.
Thank you, gentlemen, for the awesome discussion. I would like to give Martin the last word for the closing, as he is the host of this awesome event today.
Okay, jetzt sage ich es in Deutsch. Ich beende den heutigen Tag sehr gerne und mit großer Freude. Vielen Dank, dass alle so lange durchgehalten haben. Ich denke, es war ein anstrengender Tag, viel Football. Wir sehen uns heute Abend um 19 Uhr, geht das Essen los im Hotel. Und danach freue ich mich auf viele Gespräche an der Bar oder auch davor oder im Hotel einfach, und wünsche euch allen einen schönen Abend. Morgen früh um 9 Uhr geht es weiter. Viel Spaß bis dahin und bis morgen.